This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired.
And we are still not tired on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Church, along with my usual sidekick and broadcast partner and fun. That is Doc and Jock, John Charles McElroon. John, how are you doing?
Vito, welcome to the weekend. I'm so excited for this afternoon. Round 2, Metro Series, Oakland University versus the Detroit Mercy Titans. In terms of covering sports, I've really enjoyed being able to have access to college basketball at the D1 level. I'm excited potentially to see Antoine Davis potentially break Steph Curry's three-point record, maybe at the Arena. So Saturday's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to a plethora of topics that we got. Holy cow, Vito. A lot of things happening socially in regards to Colin Kaepernick, Jussie Smollett. Oh my gosh, Vito. The governor gave her State of the State address, and interesting in that some of the stuff that I like talking about has come up in that a reporter kind of highlighted what was going on in terms of how people were reacting to it, and the governor reacted to her report, and we'll talk about that and a plethora of other things. But how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Doing very well here. We do have the Detroit Mercy Oakland game to go to later today at the Arena, so that will be fun for both you and I to attend and to cover. But really to kick off things on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres, how about the story regarding Jussie Smollett from Empire? He's this star on there, and he accused 2 individuals of a hate crime, of assaulting them. Now, the latest is that he's been charged with a Class 4 felony for falsifying a police report, falsifying the fact specifically that these 2 individuals who are brothers assaulted him and relating to a hate crime. So insinuating that it was about his race, him being an African American. These 2 individuals even had a noose attached to his neck, had a MAGA hat, brought that up. I believe there was a letter with MAGA printed on it. So he came up with all these accusations, and now the latest is from the Chicago police is that he falsified the police report. And now he's facing a Class 4 felony, from my knowledge, Doc.
On Thursday, he turned himself in. Now he's got to answer for it. And there's so many reports regarding things that kind of link him to those Nigerian brothers, in that they were seen potentially buying the goods, buying the things that they were going to use to potentially assault him. They have the Nigerian brothers' phone, okay, the Chicago police. And it was discovered, and they're leaking out that potentially a phone call was made from Jussie to these guys just prior to the assault. And so if it's random, why are you calling these individuals? And so this story, Vito, is so wild in terms of the fact that this allegation was made. Some people are saying, well, when I asked my wife what she thought of it, she's like, well, his storyline arc in his show Empire was coming to an end, and maybe he was trying to keep himself relevant by being a victim, by playing a victim. Potentially, people would feel sorry for him, and maybe he could save his career. Or maybe his intention was to potentially escalate further the racial divide that's in this country. It's such a freaking wild story, especially since he recently sat down for a candid television interview where he's crying. If he is convicted of this, I want to go back and we'll play that video at a later time and really dissect it, because that's some high-level shit there. That's some narcissism. That's some delusion. That's some severe, significant mental illness going on. If you're able to do that, especially when you're going on television to portray that this happened. I just am so fascinated by this, by why he did this, his motivation, the fact that the media reported it, tied it to Trump, tied it to some things, and it just goes to show you, my impression is, unfortunately in the world of sports, we kind of have to do it sometimes. You have to react quickly, but sometimes in matters like this, maybe in matters of race, in matters of politics, that we just have to slow down a little bit and wait for all the facts. Look, in sports, you sometimes have to react quickly in terms of a game or a thought, and then more information can come in and you can modify your thoughts. But in politics and race, in the 24-hour news cycle, you had Kathy Griffin in regards to that whole situation with the Native American approaching the young man, and we'll talk about that quickly, in that he's filed a $250 million lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal saying that he was slandered and that he was basically, his life has been altered because of the reports about him when he was just standing there, in essence, and it was reported that he was an instigator, and he's just standing there, and he's probably going to get a nice settlement because of it. But what happens in this country is something happens, and all of a sudden, because of the instant nature of social media, people are reacting. And unfortunately, people are facing consequences as a result of those reactions, like Kathy Griffin potentially has said and has been criticized widely for asking for this young kid's name to be released, asking for his school address and where he goes to school, who is this kid, stuff like that. And then it comes out where the facts of the matter come out where, we jumped the gun here. Similar to this case in regards to Jussie Smollett, in that people were like, look, this is Trump again. This is all the nasty Americans. Look at the MAGA people. We're a nasty country. When in the end, we got to look at things case by case. We can't use these pejoratives where we just tie every scenario to this big global conspiracy to put down African Americans. I just think that's dangerous. And case by case, look, yes, we have to acknowledge that there are racists in this country. There are people who commit hate crimes. But in a country with this many people, those things are going to happen. Do I believe it's a widespread conspiracy to put down minorities? No. There are situations in which, yes, minorities will face challenges. But we have to stop this mentality of overreacting and this mob mentality online. And I just think that in real life, Vito, you and I think in the 5 years we've known each other, have never been outraged. We've never been to the point where we sit at the bar and go, I'm outraged. We go, holy shit, did you hear that story? And then we go, okay, is there anything we can do about it? Anything like that? And we move on. And I think this online persona that people can develop can really make you jaded and can make you angry and volatile and nasty. And when you see a story like this, and I think he played into that, some people are recognizing, oh my gosh, I can do something, I can say something, and I can garner support and garner a big amount of support online for my cause. And I just think that we have to work in facts. We have to work in reality and stop basing everything on emotion, because that's what I tell my clients. If you live your life based on emotion, you're going to have significant highs, but significant lows. And there's usually consequences, things you say and do that is going to cause problems when you don't deal in facts and when you don't deal in reality. And this case is so fascinating because it sums up everything. The media jumped on it because of this issue with Donald Trump. He's been portrayed as a victim, and it was, it ties into the beating because he's a gay man, because he's a black man. So many layers, but in the end, it was all a farce. Potentially speaking, now we have to treat it like he's innocent until proven guilty. But, even in this situation, here's a problem, okay? People are skeptical of the police so much that they're questioning, why are there so many leaks? Why is this happening? Why are the police putting out this narrative that this is happening? So even on the other side, where the police are putting out facts, people are questioning that as well. So I'm not going to say 100% that he's guilty, but right now, as we record this podcast, it's not looking good for this guy. It's looking like the evidence is probably going to sway when people really take a critical look at it, that something bad went down and what he said did not actually go down.
He's ruined his image and his credibility has been shot forever. And Empire, the TV show on Fox, which is this huge show for ratings and whatnot, is going to fire him. He is bound to get axed now. And the thing is, so hate crimes are a serious issue, and you have to believe the accuser, the victims, when they do allege such incidents. And the thing is now, this hurts the credibility of future hate crime victims. When they come out and state that they have been the victim of a hate crime, now their validity and credibility has been shot as well because of this actor, this big-time star on Empire, coming up with, more than likely, as it looks like right now, false accusations of a hate crime against him about his race and about him being gay. And he made up all of this, and what does he get out of it? He's not enhancing his reputation. Once again, his credibility has been shot. And I guess when you look back into prior incidents involving Jussie Smollett, you will find out that he once impersonated his brother. He said he was his brother when he was pulled over by the cops back about a decade plus ago. So think about it. This guy has made up things in the past. So his story, man, is very flaky, should have been to start, and it's increasingly faulty. And it looks like that he made up this story completely now, Doc. And it's a shame because ABC interviewed him, right? ABC News had this exclusive interview with them and got his side of the story. But in the defense of ABC News and other news outlets that were covering this story, well, they wanted to get the news from the source. He was the source of this hate crime. So you have the right to interview this guy, to get his side of the story. So from ABC News' perspective, I think interviewing him and getting his side of the story was extremely defensible. So you can't blame ABC News and can't say that ABC News and other news outlets, media outlets, made up this story. Jussie Smollett made up this story, and then these news outlets had the right to pick it up and to report it as they thought it was true. And apparently it was at one point when the brothers that perpetrated this crime were arrested. Remember, they were arrested, and now they have flipped the table because now they have accused, Jussie Smollett of making it up. And now, like you said, there are more and more evidence out there. There is more and more evidence out there, Doc, of the fact that Jussie Smollett was in on this with his alleged attackers.
But I think the timing of it, I understand that when something happens, okay, and you go on television, there's influence. So remember that you're trying to portray something that happened, okay? I think it's the news responsibility to say, okay, you know what? You've alleged that this happened. Let's wait till this happens in court. Let's wait until a verdict is reached. Let's wait until evidence has been portrayed before we go out there. He's going to speak no matter what if at a later time when there's a scenario in which someone has been found guilty or innocent. And I just think that because of the nature of what we call getting the story when it's hot, that's the problem. Is I think that's part of it. We do it too at podcasting, is that if somebody had a story, we want to get them as soon as possible when more people would listen. But unfortunately, in this case, I think a lesson has been learned that, you know what, when someone makes allegations, we just got to wait until the court date happens when the other side presents their case. Now, if ABC waits and they find out that, okay, the Nigerian brothers have been found guilty, they're put away, then you go and interview them. What's been your reaction? What has been the trial been like? How have things been going since the attack? How are you going to go forward? Can you put this behind you now that these guys are in jail? Once it's been determined that the outcome of a case has been set, because now, in the end, I'm more skeptical as a human being because of stuff like this.
So you're more skeptical now of other people that come out alleging of hate crimes?
I'm skeptical of people that make allegations in general now. I'm skeptical of when a video comes out in terms of, hey, this happened. I want to wait just maybe a little bit more time before I formulate a formal judgment on things in regards to videos I see online.
But videos coming out of where you see the individual involved in a crime, in a hate attack, or being the victim of it. I mean, you can see via video clearly that the individual was but you're saying now are you just regarding hate crimes? No, I'm specifically talking about that because I can see where a hate crime where you can say, well, these guys maybe were in on it with the alleged victim.
Crimes, political type issues, just stuff that goes on. I want to wait and see in terms of things that happen to people. No, obviously, look, skepticism doesn't mean you don't believe. You just want to say, okay, you know what? This guy is alleging that this happened. I hope I will say to myself, I hope they find the attackers. I hope that due process happens. I want to hear what happens in the result. And obviously, I would say the same thing. I would say hate crimes are wrong. We want to treat everybody with respect. But I'm not going to go on social media and via my platform and just be like, oh my gosh, the world is such a terrible place. I can't believe it. We live in a world where Jussie gets attacked because of he's gay and he's black. I won't do that kind of stuff. I will wait until a resolution happens. And, being lucky that I have a sports platform, not too much politics talk, and there's a reason for that. But on this platform, on this show, I think it's interesting that this has played out in this way and that people react so fast. And sometimes when you react like that so strongly, you get egg all over your face when you don't have all the facts, because it's happened now repeatedly where stories come out, people react, but then when all the information comes out, and I was guilty of it in sports too, and I'll tell you the story. A wrestling announcer, his wife came out on social media and was like really pissed off because and she named that her ex-husband now has slept with a wrestler, another female wrestler, and everybody on social media was jumping on his case, going, "Oh my God, you have no morals, you have no values, you're a homewrecker, you're a scumbag, you cheated on your wife. How could you do that?" Just based on his ex's allegations. Now, he waited a day, didn't really get into it too much. The next day, he comes out and says, "No, here's what happened. 6 months ago, I started to have problems with my wife. I've been living on my own for the last 2 months. In the last 2 months, I have started a relationship with this new person who is a current wrestler on their roster. I did not cheat on my wife. But because of the fact that his ex threw out all these allegations, his reputation was sullied and people weighed in and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a scumbag. And oh my God, I can't believe this guy's going to be announcing. When in the end, now, do we know, did he have a relationship with her prior? Maybe there was some texts and some things. But formally, what we know factually, he did not cheat on his wife. But of course, someone who got scorned is going to put out stuff on Instagram. Now, she looks a little bit bad because she's now deleted all her social media. The ex has now faced backlash because of what she did. And so in the end, we just have to slow down in our reaction to things. And I think we'll be much better off, especially via social media. And I think for Jussie, he needs extensive mental health therapy. He needs to, really examine his narcissism and examine the delusional world that he lives in.
Well, he looks like a con artist now, doesn't he? As is our president. So he's no better than our president now, the con artist that he is. So Jussie Smollett, his image has been tarnished forever. And for him to rectify it now, and you think it's a mental health issue? Because you keep bringing that up. I don't know. But he's made up things in the past. He has, like I said, he impersonated his brother when he was pulled over by the cops.
Exactly. Yeah.
About a decade ago.
He's delusional. He has a warped sense of reality, and he doesn't accept accountability. And he figures out that I'd rather be a victim than actually face reality. So that's really bad.
Well, and it's sad because other people are victims of hate crimes legitimately. And, if they're gay, you might face a hate crime. If you're an African-American, unfortunately, you might face a hate crime. And it does happen in modern-day society. And those people, though, those accusers of these hate crimes should be believed, is what it comes down to at the end of the day. And now we move on to Colin Kaepernick and the latest regarding him and settling with the NFL on the collusion situation and scandal that has been presented now for many, many years regarding Colin Kaepernick and whether or not the NFL owners at large, or all 32, have blackballed him and not allowed him to play in the NFL because of colluding with one another. Doc, it looks like he might have gotten significant money. It looks like he maybe didn't. We don't know. The facts aren't all there regarding how much money he did get in this collusion settlement.
The reason is when you settle in a case like this, the NFL and the attorneys, they put together what we call an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, where they can't talk about it. But, Vito, here's the fascinating thing. I don't know if you followed closely on my Twitter page, @Detroit Podcast. Mark Garagos, the attorney for Colin Kaepernick, he's a famous attorney. This is a guy that has famously defended Scott Peterson, has been involved and worked with Chris Brown, Michael Jackson. So this guy is all over CNN as a commentator, a very bright Armenian man. Very, very bright. I'm talking about legendary lawyer in terms of the work that he does and the things that he's into. He's a very talented individual, okay? In the last 3 years, he's partnered up with Adam Carolla and has done a weekly podcast talking about the law, talking about cases and stuff like that. His firm was also in real time addressing the Fire Festival, whereas when it was going down, he talked about, and he said, I was having drinks with Adam, and all of a sudden I get this complaint from the Bahamas that something's weird's going on. I had to file this complaint and things like that. And so his partner was more into it than that, but he had working live knowledge of the Fire Festival, and he shared it on his podcast. If you want to listen to a really good legal podcast, it's called the Reasonable Doubt Podcast. Comes out every Saturday. And throughout the last 2 years, he's kind of kept us up to date in terms of the fact that he actually deposed Roger Goodell. He deposed Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys. He deposed as well Bob Kraft, owner of the New England Patriots. I think he deposed Pete Carroll. And he talked about, the fact that obviously these guys don't like being deposed and the nature of some of the stuff that was talked about. So he's kept us up to date. And I think the one thing, though, that he said that he kept championing that was wrong was he kept saying throughout the podcast that he has no doubt that Colin Kaepernick will be back in the league. And he keeps saying it.
I wouldn't say no doubt.
Yeah, so he's been saying it for 3 years. But in the end, the rumors are that the settlement was in a neighborhood of $60 million to $80 million. And on a recent podcast that Adam Carolla did on his own show, he sent out an email to Mark Garagos directly and said, so how much did you get? Like they flat out asked him. And obviously Mark didn't send a response back. You know what he sent back? He sent back a reply via email, video of Ice Cube. Today was a good day.
He got a lot of money in that settlement himself.
And there's a photo of them all celebrating, and Mark's firm got a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of work on it to get that. But in the end, going back through it, sometimes we get masked and clouded by the scenario, okay? Vito, this was always a civil suit. This was filed as a civil suit, okay? And he came out and he said recently when he now addressed it, he said, look, when you file civilly, your goal is money, period. That's the goal. Now, there were things that were disclosed that you can make, assumptions about. Obviously, if the NFL settles, there's a realization that there are some things that they don't want revealed.
They're in the wrong. Oh, yeah, I would say they're in the wrong to some degree based on that.
And if they would have gone to court, they probably would have been found in a way that was, negative in the actions the league took in terms of working together to keep Colin out of the league. And so that's what happened. And so you look at it, and even I question and go, did Colin Kaepernick did he hoe himself out? Did he just do this for money? In the end, yes. When you file civilly, you're claiming, and Colin Kaepernick, you get this straight, filed allegations that because of collusion, his career and livelihood was damaged because the league worked together to keep him out of it because of the kneeling. And that's the case. Now, can he take it further? There's the problem. Wherein lies when you take money, the NFL could potentially do this again because it's a $1 billion industry that's not going anywhere, so they just throw $60 million. Vito, that equates to $2 million a team in the league. That's nothing in terms of billions of dollars. So you look at it and you say, if the goal eventually was to make changes in the league, do I see the league doing it again? Probably not, but it can happen. It can happen again because the league now has authority. They got money to throw away the problem. I just find that in our legal system, and we've talked about this before, tying money to causes doesn't always necessarily equate to the problem that you're originally trying to solve being taken care of. Now, look what's happened. Most of the players in the NFL don't kneel anymore. The issue has now kind of gone to the backdrop. He did, I'll give him credit, bring awareness to this cause. We talk about it. But could he have done more? And he's still doing great work. But the question herein lies is, could Colin Kaepernick have done more had he not sued? And in the end, he got his reparations. He feels like he was done wrong by the NFL, and that's kind of what it's been shown. But in terms of social justice, I don't know if he did the exact damage. He hit the board, but he didn't hit the bullseye. And I think if he would have taken it to court, had all the evidence exposed, and not taken the money, there would have been information released regarding what was said, who was said to who, what was said in regards to collusion, race, kneeling, relationship with Trump, business. We would have gotten more insight into evidence that would have been presented. And even if he would have lost, then potentially speaking, evidence would have maybe come out in regards to how the league practices and what the league actually believes. And if there are some racist owners, it would have probably been revealed in these emails. Everything is sealed. Nothing is released. Nobody's talking, even Mark Garagos. The NFL will move on. And in the end, Colin Kaepernick capitalized financially on this issue that he caused. And I don't blame a man for doing it. He's no longer a quarterback. But in the end, you look at it, and some people will say, look, if you wanted to be a quarterback, you could have taken an offer that was given to you. You could go and play for the league minimum. If you would have asked for a little bit less money, I think a squad might have potentially signed you. Go to Canada. If you wanted to be a quarterback, maybe you could have done some things differently. Now, do you not want to take the hits or not want to do the job or go to the AAF? Do you not want to actually do it? Some people can now make that argument because of the fact that Colin took the money. He took a boatload of money. And in the end, the tough part is that you feel like he could have hit a bullseye had he not settled.
Let me ask you what you would have done, though, in those same shoes, because that was his source of employment. That's all that he knew, right, at that point. When all this came out, when he did the kneeling and, leading into the civil suit and settling for the money that he did, Well, guess what his source of employment all this time was, all throughout his life? It was playing football. So if you knew that was being taken away from you, wouldn't you also want to file this civil suit and get a lot of money from the entity that has been blackballing you? And doesn't it prove that the NFL was in the wrong, had some damaging issues attached to its name regarding this collusion among all NFL franchises?
I don't go down this road at all. If I find
what would you have done if you felt
Okay,
if you felt like your industry was blackballing you from being a part of the industry? What would you have done?
No, here's how it would have played out, okay? Let's say, for example, I feel like, okay, African Americans are being unjustly treated by the police, okay? I don't do that when I'm playing football. I don't do that at the pulpit. You know what? I sit down with the likes of a Chris Berman. I sit down with a Chris Carter. I sit down with somebody in depth, away from the job, like on a Tuesday, and I let it rip on a Podcast One podcast, and I go, you know what? It's my free time. I think that I want to bring light to this subject. I feel like in this country we can do a much better job of equality. I just think that, I'm a quarterback. I'm blessed. I have this privilege, and I just want to address this because I'm finding that my people are being treated unfairly, things like that. And boom, then you go on the press junket on your days off. Now, you have that scenario. That's just me. I wouldn't do it in terms of the fact that I would know in advance, if I did this, I think I'm going to bring some unnecessary noise to the locker room, to my team. There's a chance I could get fired. Maybe that I'll get supported, but there's also, in my mind, would be, I don't think my boss is going to like this, so I'm not going to do it on the clock. I'll speak every week. Dude, you're going to get interviewed. People will come to you. You're at a workout. Boom. Hey, Vito, we're boys. Kind of come to the workout. Kind of, hang out, take a video. Ask me about the team, ask me about that, ask me about, oh, you were on a podcast last week. I loved it. Great podcast. Make sure you plug it. And, tell me more about that. Yeah, I think that I want to spend some time doing this. I think I have an obligation. And you keep doing it, but just in another way. You keep your job. Now, you get cut. It doesn't work out. Okay. Now, others, when they get cut, they go around to other teams, take less money. I got to go. Look what Nick Foles did. I'm going to be a backup. I'm going to wait. Maybe a chance comes and it's my time in the playoffs. Boom, I shine. Now Nick Foles is set up. He's going to get a big fat contract from the Jaguars or somebody because when he was time to come in when he was the backup, he succeeded. Now, Colin Kaepernick was cut. He feels like he was unjustly put back in, and I think there's a little bit of both. I think the league did some things to remove him, excommunicate him from the league, and also he did not do everything in his power. He brought some of this upon himself. So I wouldn't have gone down that road. I would have used a different method to deliver the same message, and I would have taken less money. If I want to play football, I'm taking, $600K, $700K. I'll be a backup, come to Detroit, hang out, look at Stafford, learn from him. All right, Stafford goes down. Maybe I go in there, boom, I throw 4 touchdowns. I'm the guy. I want to earn it on merit, and that's how I would have done it. But at the same time, when I see the numbers, we all do it. We all think, man, if I just sue a company, I'll get money. But for me, I just don't have that mindset unless I feel like my family was harmed and somebody intentionally screwed me on purpose and directly hurt me, like physically, or because of their negligence, I slipped and fell, or something like that. Maybe it crosses your mind, but I'm just not the suing type. I'm not the suing type. But man, when you hear those numbers, I frankly told my wife, man, I'm in the wrong business. Those scummy lawyers.
Now, didn't he use the NFL platform, though, because it is what you already had said? You said it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So he used the platform of the NFL to express his issues because he knew, guess what, ESPN, even the national news outlets, broadcast networks would pick up the news and run with it too. NBC, ABC, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, they would all run with it and present it as a story at the top of their respective newscasts.
But Vito, don't you think he sacrificed his career to do that? And so then why did he need $60 million?
But that's why he was on Time Magazine as the person of the year or whatever. He knew, so maybe he had some intention behind it. And the thing is, does that hurt his credibility as this African-American civil rights hero? Because he's kind of deemed as that now, right? As an African-American civil rights hero.
To some
at least.
Yes.
Does it hurt his credibility as that when you see that he settles for money? Do you think it hurt his credibility?
Yes, to some. To some, I believe it does hurt his credibility.
Do you think it does, though? That it's hurt his credibility as a African-American civil rights hero? Because people are saying that now because of what you have said, him getting all this money, through this civil suit.
I don't think so. I don't think it hurts his credibility. I question his motives. It's for
his
money.
Intentions, right? You're questioning that because of the money that he got out of this.
But see, I don't think it's black and white. I think he wants to bring attention to this, and he wants a bunch of money. He wants both. I just say that if you wanted to be a quarterback, there would have been ways to do it, and it wouldn't have been involving kneeling at your job.
He could have played for another team and got to a backup job easily. Now, another organization that is helping train quarterbacks to become Colin Kaepernick in the future is Legacy Football. And let's get to that. Legacy Football organization, our fine sponsor at the DSP Network, is the sponsor of this podcast as well, and every episode of Two Bad Hombres on the DSP Network doc. And Legacy Football was founded in 2009 by Justin Sassante. It is a premier off-season development program in the state of Michigan, in the Midwest, and in the entire country. It provides unique platforms on and off the football field for student athletes through community service, social awareness, education, and football. And it features a staff of many prominent former collegiate stars and NFL players, including legendary Lions wide receiver Herman Moore, and a past guest of Two Bad Hombres and former three-time All-American Michigan State linebacker Greg Jones. And to find out more about Legacy Football and all of the events they are bringing to our very region coming up in 2019 and beyond, please contact National Director of Football Operations Justin Sassante or go online to Legacy Football's terrific website at www.legacyfootballorg.com.
Vito, I'm going to check the poll here. I do think, based on our poll at Two Bad Hombres, most people voted in favor of Colin Kaepernick being a money-grubbing kind of guy.
I saw that.
You did see that, right?
And I feel unfortunate. I'm going to take the opposite side because I feel like he did all this for the right reasons, to present awareness and bring specifically more awareness to the issue of police brutality. And there wasn't enough going on in the mindset, the opinion of Colin Kaepernick and others, obviously. And that's why he made such a big thing about this and was kneeling. It wasn't about the national anthem protest. And the reason why I think so many people have said now, too, that it was a money grab for Colin Kaepernick is because they also believe, well, and because of maybe the president, that he was doing this as a protest of the national anthem. It wasn't that, though.
With over 500 votes, 60% voted he's a selfish money grabber, and 40% voted hero for exposing the NFL.
Sure.
60-40 in favor.
And those 60% that said that he's a money grabber. Now, are they saying that because they believe, once again, that he was protesting the national anthem? I think that, and guess what? Who spread that fake news? You know who doesn't like fake news but spread that fake news? Was the president himself, Donald Trump. He's the one that created that fake news, widespread belief of, well, he just did this to protest the national anthem. He wasn't protesting that when he was kneeling. It was to protest police brutality. And I think a lot of the people that voted in that poll at Detroit Podcast and Two Bad Hombres on Twitter, well, were duped themselves by Donald J. Trump, the current president, and believe that Colin Kaepernick was protesting something that he truly wasn't. And shame on those individuals who could have done some research just by searching a few things online and could have found out that the real reason why Colin Kaepernick was kneeling was because of the fact that he was protesting a real issue in police brutality, which is an ongoing issue nationwide.
All right, Vito, a couple quick hitters, things I just want to ask you real fast, and I'm going to ask them in a yes or no type way so we can keep it moving before we get to our last topic regarding Gretchen Whitmer and her State of the State address and Erica Erickson and her reporting on it. Yes or no, should Zion Williamson play again for Duke after his knee injury that happened on Wednesday? His shoe exploded, and likely is going to probably miss a couple games. Not a significant knee injury, but really embarrassing for Nike when his shoe explodes and he only plays like a minute of a big contest, Duke versus North Carolina. Should Zion Williamson just shut it down and get to the draft and take all the money?
If he can play in the tournament, I say he should keep playing. Because you know what? You're playing for your team. You're at Duke right now. You're about winning a national title. Guess what? You were the number one ranked team in the nation, have been a perennial or, a heavy favorite to win the title now for a long time this season because of all your talent. Along with you, there's also R.J. Barrett. So I would say, to sum it up, he should play again. If he can play in the tournament, he should play again, Doc.
Manny Machado signed the biggest deal in the history of American sports, 10 years, $300 million with the Padres. Good or bad for the Padres?
I would say good because they have a nice farm system. And you know what? Manny Machado's 26 years old, 26 years young, I like to say himself. Why not? You can build a dynasty out there in San Diego, and it's a beautiful place to live and to play.
Did the Tigers miss out on potentially, making a splash and getting a guy like this? Even though they're rebuilding, you could potentially in 3 years have a 28-year-old Manny Machado.
They have Josh Harrison, man. Come on. Who broke up that Justin Verlander no-hitter? They didn't, well, you know what? They weren't going to sign Manny Machado because they didn't want to spend this outlandish money, which, hey, in the long term, it might not be worth all of that money for the Padres' sake. And maybe then the Chicago White Sox, who were rumored to be landing him, he was their big fish to target to get. And Dominic Jerko, my brother, wanted to get him bad for his Southside Shy Sox. They didn't land him, but maybe maybe, guys, in the long term, that benefits the White Sox and these other teams that missed out on Manny Machado.
Do you forgive golfer Matt Kuchar for being a cheap-ass mofo? He finally made it right, gave the caddy $50K. Now, it's still less. It's only 5%, less than the 10% that caddies would have gotten. Most caddies, his caddy would have gotten $120,000 to $130,000 based on a victory of $1.2 million. Standard rate's 10%. He was called out on it for only giving $5,000, which is like 0.00001% of a win. He took a lot of heat, answered some questions, and said, look, $5,000 is great for a week. But in the end, based on social media pressure, which I think was used for good, calling this guy cheap, Matt Kuchar made it right and finally gave the caddy $50K. We move on, or do you continue to view Matt Kuchar slanted as a cheap mofo?
A cheap ass is a cheap ass. He'll always be remembered as that, especially by me.
That's an interesting story, and maybe one day we'll go a deeper dive as more information comes out. All right, good stuff, Vito. A lot of interesting stuff that's happened now. I'm glad we had a chance to talk about it. So, Zion Williamson, man, there's a chance if he insured himself, he could get $100 million on a shoe deal had he not played this year. He could have got $100 million. That's how much he's worth, and sometimes playing costs you. But he's going to insure himself.
You know what? Hurts your draft stock.
Yeah.
He was going number one.
I still think
consensus
he is.
number one. More than likely still is, but guess what? How about that game Wednesday night against UNC? Now, they get blown out, but Barack Obama was there. Spike Lee was there. Everybody and their mother was there. And those tickets were rivaling Super Bowl price tickets. Almost the same price as Super Bowl tickets to be at Cameron Indoor, right? For that game. The best college venue in the nation. And why were they there largely? Because of Zion Williamson, who can benefit nothing from that, gets none of those ticket profits. He can't make any money from all the money that Duke has made all this season and from that game specifically. Zion can't benefit at all, and then he gets hurt, and now maybe it hurts his draft stock, Doc. It's a shame for a guy like that who really deserves to get paid based on all the money that he has brought in for Duke.
Now, Jamie Miettinen of SportsLawBlondes.com, she gets in. She says, nah, stick to the plan and go to the NBA. I believe he should do him and make his money while his stock is high. Duke needs him more than he needs Duke. And Jamie's a good lawyer. I hear her on WTKA out there in Ann Arbor, and she gets in with her opinion on, Zion Williamson. All right, Vito, final topic. Fascinating. And I got in on it, too, a little bit, and it was a fascinating look at something that happened that I think the governor made worse when, in fact, the journalist was actually trying to point out something. So here's how it played out, okay? The governor's giving her state of the state address. And unfortunately, being a woman, they're airing it on Facebook Live, via the Fox 2 platform and others as well. But because Erica Erickson's watching the feed and things like that, and Fox 2 is realizing, holy cow, there's a lot of nasty comments, rating her dress, her appearance, the fact that, there was, her dress was a little tight and, people were kind of like oohing and ahhing. And I sent you a screenshot of somebody that was vulgar sexually in regards to the governor was talking about it. And Erica Erickson pointed out and said, man, there's still open vulgarness on our platform and it's disgusting and things like that. And the headline was, in essence, governor's speech is overshadowed by people's thoughts about her dress and attire and non-important issues. Well, the governor, starts to take wind. People like me on social media start seeing the comments. They start actually going and reading some of them. And people started to take note and report to the governor, oh my God, people are talking about this. And the governor comes out and says, this report by Erica Erickson is tasteless and is unimportant. It's wrong and she should take it down. And then Erica starts taking heat from Fox 2, from listeners and people going, this is not news, it's not important. In the end, they missed the mark. She was bringing light, trying to support the governor, trying to bring light of this. Now, in the end, I'm not looking at this black and white. I'm looking at it from both sides. Did it need to be reported that there's going to be some clowns on social media, talking about the governor's breasts and talking about the governor and things outside of what she was saying? I don't think so. I don't think it's news because, yes, it was going to happen. Anytime that you open up a comment section, Vito, we could be talking about Jesus, the Pope. We could be talking about, man, Vito, I just gave $10,000 to this great charity. I gave $10,000 to your charity. Someone could go, dude, you're worth $5 billion. You only gave 10. You're a cheap mofo. So for me, there's an inherent understanding that anytime you ask a question, there's probably going to be a certain segment of the population that's going to be a troll. And they're going to put something stupid and ridiculous because they can. Some people openly did it. They put like, oh, I want to have sex with the governor. You have to also, in life, Vito, and I tell people this, you can't bury your head in the sand and be like, oh my God, we live in this Me Too movement. Who would say such a thing? Who would be such a pig online? Who would write that? I would assume that beforehand, that if you open comments, that one person is going to address that.
And more than one person. I know you believe too, and I believe that.
Yeah, I would assume that you can make a safe assumption because she's a woman, somebody is going to be inappropriate on that comment section. All you do is, if you want to legislate it, you go, boom, cut it out. You don't bring it up. I don't think there's value in it because I don't think it's news. I would be like, yeah. And so my comment was actually, oh my gosh, let's look to the value of the social media comments on there. When I saw that, that was my quoted tweet that I put. I'm like, let's go see the important value of the comments that were put on her speech. I don't look to comments for valuable insight in a lot of situations that are like that. Now, there's some comments like, the one Jamie made to us in my question. I respect it, so I retweet it. Someone that could be like, nah, man, or something silly or ridiculous, I don't value the importance of it. So for me, it wasn't news, but I think the governor took the wrong stance. I think the governor should just ignored it because in the end, I don't think that her calling it out would ever stop it. I think that in the end, if it's brought up to her, she says, look, you know what? I hope we can continue to value women as important figures. This is inappropriate and keep it moving. I don't think you call out the reporter.
Disable the commenting. At the very least. What's the value in, like you said, having those comments there? What is Fox 2 gathering and gaining from having those comments? And what does it provide to their website and to their newscast or social media outlet? Well, getting people's I know they want to get people's reactions, but that kind of stuff, it's just invalid.
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is. It's a judgment placed on this notion. People think that, oh my God, we got #MeToo. It's all gone. Sexism is gone. Racism is gone. Homophobia is gone. Shit talking is gone. No. What happens is if somebody in a free society has this thought, they should be shamed for it. Now, do you call it out? No, potentially speaking. If you want to, do something along the lines, if you see a comment, I'd hit that with the governor, you just disable that guy's ability to comment. It's inappropriate. It's wrong. Or you give him a warning.
Oh, yeah. Can you delete it right away, too? I think you can.
Yeah. But
depending on the platform that you're using, too.
But on a live platform, there's like thousands of comments strolling.
So you don't see everything. Yeah, you miss some.
On a post, you can do it. But I think there's other ways of doing it. You just call them out, or you just say, look at this guy. Look at some of the comments and things like that. What I wouldn't do is make a report about it. Because, it's just, in the end, a comment, things like that. You can quietly disable somebody's ability to comment going forward. You can put a list out, or you can do something on social media where, hey, you can't comment during the video and things like that. I've been blocked, I think, from the ticket. I can't comment on their videos.
You've been blocked by a lot of people, probably.
Yeah, I'm not blocked on their Facebook. I can't make comments because, half the time I would put Detroit Sports Podcast.
Yeah, you're going to promote your own entity.
Yeah.
Solicitation. Come on, man.
Yeah, so you stop it and things like that. I just don't find it newsworthy. Now, do you every once in a while bring up, hey, discuss it in a way and say, hey, I want to be treated like an individual and not viewed as a sex object? Of course, you can keep saying it, but there's still always going to be a segment of the population that views her as a sex object, no matter what she does. And it's something that there is value in discussing it, but not via a report platform. I just think you keep it in discussion. You keep always saying, in general, you make broad statements. We need to treat people based on the merit of their career, based on independence. We make these judgments based on this, and you can make these general comments quite often in life. Treat people with respect. Don't treat people like sex objects. Don't be overt and sexual and vulgar. Be respectful of everybody in their position. Treat everybody based on the content of their character and not on their sexuality, on their race, on their gender, their appearance. Just treat everybody with respect and try to be nicer to each other, and don't use social media as a way to share your disgusting thoughts. Share them in the confines of a private meeting with your boys.
If anything,
yes. If you're going to share
not online, not on social media.
Not
then you
online.
look like a fool anyways. Don't you know that you look like a fool and you can't say that stuff, especially nowadays? And you shouldn't even have those thoughts really and say them with your friends. But here's what I think about all this.
Oh, come on. I'm going to ask you this.
Yes, yeah.
Have you had any illicit dreams about the governor?
No, I've never even thought of Governor Whitmer.
I'll say this.
Is she a pretty woman? Yes, but does it matter? It should not matter. It's about her policies and how is she going to fix the damn roads? Like Senator Peter J. Lucido was saying, Republican senator who I interviewed for the De La Soap podcast. He said, hey, what are your resolutions to fix the roads? I care more about that regarding Governor Whitmer.
I respect the governor greatly. She's a very attractive woman. I just think that she could also enhance her situation by wearing attire that's a little bit less provocative.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
There's your opinion.
I noticed some things.
So different attire, she should mix it up and be less revealing or
less revealing,
whatever you want to say about her attire. I'm not going to dive that deep into it because I could care less about her attire. And I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, she looks so attractive, man. And the guy that said I would hit that. Really, you got to say that? Stupid talk. But anyways, I wanted to say really quick that Erica Erickson had the right to report this story. Now, was it extremely newsworthy?
No.
No. But then also for Governor Whitmer to come out and say that it was tasteless on behalf of Erica Erickson to report this story. Well, actually, Erickson, you said it yourself, Doc, was trying to help out Whitmer to say that people should not be commenting like this and that it's erroneous on these people's character to comment. And to make these kind of comments, these vulgar, derogatory comments that are sexist and degrading of these women and of what Governor Whitmer was wearing. Why does it matter what she was wearing? But all Erica Erickson, in the end, was trying to bring attention to was the fact that people still in the Me Too era and an era of this more of a strong feminist movement about equality for all, there are still these men that are degrading, dirty men that will bring up the appearance of a woman and comment on it. Even when the woman is the governor of the state of Michigan and is delivering a State of the State address about what to fix inside the state, throughout the state. That's what we should have been gaining from her speech during the State of the State address about her speech regarding fixing the damn roads, other policy issues that she brought up, not about her attire. So Erica Erickson, all that Erickson was trying to bring up and bring attention to was the fact that there are still these men and individuals that will comment on your attire when they shouldn't be in this day and age. And just, you know what, forget about it, in this day and age, should have never been and should never be commenting on something of that sort when, you know what, why does it matter? Why does it truly matter what she is wearing? And honestly, when you are bringing up that and using this vulgar language, you know what? To me, you're like the scum of the earth, really. Because you should know better, and it's a horrible character flaw. It's a huge character flaw on anybody that's commenting and, well, making those kind of comments that are just vulgar and degrading of the woman or of whomever it may have been presenting that State of the State address.
No doubt about it, Vito. Great podcast recording. Always enjoy the time. You can follow the show at 2 Bad Hombres. Follow Vito at Vito Jerome. You can follow the network at Detroit Podcast. If anything you've heard, you agree with, you don't agree with, you hate, you think we're talking stupid, if you think that there's information that I need to know or that we're not aware of, feel free, message anytime at Detroit Podcast. We love the banter. We love the back and forth. We appreciate your voting on our polls, and we love the engagement. Great stuff. Now, I've seen on your platform as well. Give it a plug, no doubt about it. There's an event with Sound Mind, Sound Body that's coming up with a lot of NFL athletes. Maybe we can work something out where some of those athletes can be heard on Detroit Sports Podcast, being that I'm a kind guy mentioning Sound Mind, Sound Body.
You want to get in there.
15th anniversary of something?
15-year anniversary of the start, which was in 2004.
15th
So 15-year
anniversary.
anniversary gala, April 13th at Sound Mind Sound Body headquarters. So it should be fun. A lot of, NFL players that are alums of Sound Mind Sound Body.
And current players, too.
Current players, in the NFL now, yes, Damon Webb, Desmond King. How about that guy? An all-pro. Going to be there. Brandon Graham, the strip sack of Tom Brady to win that Super Bowl for the Eagles. Not this past season, but the season before. So you got some big-time Sound Mind Sound Body alums that are scheduled to be in attendance at the 15-year Sound Mind Sound Body Anniversary Gala on April 13th, once again at the official Sound Mind Sound Body headquarters.
You're welcome, Vito. No doubt
Thank
about
you
it.
so much. I know you want to get in there, too, and get some interviews. And hey, maybe
And
we
shoot an
will.
invite to the doc.
Maybe we will accomplish that. And maybe you can be there as well if I'm nice enough to invite you out for that event.
Anything exciting going on with you in the upcoming weeks?
Lame. Nothing big, just I'm lame. Nothing fun for me. I got no woman. I got nothing going on.
That's all good.
No, but that's a big event. Seriously, April 13th, come check that out. And hey, just hopefully more and more interviews as time goes on. And hey, maybe Detroit Mercy and OU make a run in Motor City Madness, make it all the way to the Horizon League Tournament Championship game at LCA, and then we can be there, Doc. That would be fun, right?
One last question, yes or no? Antonio Brown to the Lions.
I'm
Thumbs
going to
up,
say
thumbs
no.
down.
He's a diva. 2 thumbs
Too
down.
much.
Don't need him.
2 thumbs
Adios.
down. Adios, everybody. Thank you. For all news and notes regarding the network, you can also visit DetroitSportsPodcast.com.